Okay. I think we're live. Are we live? We're live. Connection's working. All right. Hello, Illuvium fans. This has been a long time coming. We've had technical difficulties over the last couple of weeks. It's hard to get a internet connection for streaming in a back shed over 50 metres from the house. So it looks like it's all working. But last time we tried this, it did not go very well. Looks like it's working now. So let's get started. Today we're painting Wrinkle the Tatopee, and this is our guy here. I've painted his shell black base coat and his skin pink, well grey. It's going to be pink. We've got our Tatopee image in the left-hand corner. We're going to paint true to colour. So here's our little guide picture. Hi Katniss, thanks for joining. We're in the back shed and it seems to be working. I might be a little bit distracted while I make sure everything's going. Sorry. It's turned out to be way harder to set up than I thought, but looks like everything is working. Yep, we're definitely live. All right, let's get started. So we're going to paint the shell first. Start with a black undercoat, and then we're going to paint a dark purple over him, and then do some layering, and then do some shading. We're using some paints I haven't used before, and it has been a while since I've done some painting. So we're going to test some new things out, and hopefully it works all right. This is a bit bigger, this model, than what I'm used to working with. But hopefully everything works all right. So we're using Citadel paints because that's what I'm most familiar with. I'm an old Warhammer painter from years back. That's our first colour, Nagaroth Night. They got some pretty wild names, Games Workshop. So we've got our wet palette set up here too. We'll start from the back, just in case we mess anything up. We want to probably need 2 layers of this dark purple to begin with. Shouldn't take too long to put on, but we're putting it on quite thin. There is some imperfections in this model, so we have used a really thick undercoat to try and get rid of some of that, which will hopefully smooth out some of those little wrinkles, which is where he got his name from, calling him Wrinkle. I wonder if I've got that in frame. I've never painted on camera before, so this could be a total disaster. I was planning on having some music set up, but the internet connection down here can't handle it. So we'll just have to listen to me talk. Could be a nightmare too. If you've got any questions, or you want to talk about what's happening in Illuvium, or you want to tell me what's happening in Illuvium, that'd be great. Give me something to talk about while we're streaming. So the plan is to paint this guy's shell first, and then we give him a light varnish so he's easier to handle and we don't rub the paint off while we paint the underside. That's the plan anyway. And we'll see how we go. Not sure how well that's coming out on camera because these colours are the purple's quite dark, and the undercoat being black is obviously quite dark as well. But it will lighten up as we add more colour to the model. How's the stream going? Is it working? Connection is stable, which is good. See, I was trying to originally stream through Restream, and that way I could stream to X and YouTube, but I don't think Restream likes a dodgy connection, which is what I've got. But YouTube seems to handle it all right. So hopefully we don't have any more issues. And we're only doing base coats at the moment, so don't have to be too accurate with the painting, but it's better not to get a dark colour like this dark purple in a spot we're going to paint pink later, because that'll be quite hard to paint over the top of. So we'll be a little bit careful on the edges. I am used to painting much smaller models than this. I even brought a hairdryer down here in case we need to speed up the drying process. I wonder if I should adjust that camera a little bit. Let's have a look. That might be better. Need some more paint. I do like to water my paints down a little bit. You get a smoother coat, but you do use it up, or it doesn't cover quite as much surface when you do that. Don't know how many streams we'll have to do to get this guy finished. Okay, so far so good. We're going better than the last one. Will I paint another one? I don't. Look, Roger is, I think he's the head arts director for Illuvium. He supplied this Tatopee for me to paint. I would like to paint another one, but it was quite a bit of hassle for him to set all this up, and I know the guy's pretty busy, so I mean, if they want to send me another one, I'll definitely paint another one. But yeah, that might be a long way away. Maybe they'll sell them one day. They are getting into all kinds of different merchandise. I think they just released some kids' t-shirts on the merch store. And if you haven't seen, they've recently done a partnership with G-Shock, the watch company, and they're releasing an Illuvium watch, which is pretty damn cool. I'd love to get one, but I think it's a bit outside of my budget. You need 20 discs that cost about 35 bucks each. So I could splurge for it, but I don't think it'd be a good use of my funds at this stage. We'll see. You never know. Oh, that's better coverage. This is not my normal streaming setup. I'm running everything from a very old gaming laptop in my back shed on a farm in Western Australia, which traditionally does not have great internet. So seems to be working all right. But yeah, I don't have any of my normal streaming stuff here. I can't even tell how many people are in the stream. I know one person's here at least. I can see one person chatting. Usually I have some apps set up that tell me what's going on. But we're on a budget setup tonight. Connection is good. That's good to say. Good to hear. Hey Web3, thanks for joining. Finally got everything working. It's been a bit of a mission. I think we need a bit more paint. I'm using a lapel mic, so I don't have, well, actually I think I can adjust the audio. No, it's on max. Yeah, I can't get any more juice out of it, sorry. I'll try and talk louder. We're on a budget setup out the back of the shed here at the moment, so. Yeah, we're definitely going to need a second coat of this purple. All right, so that's coat one of the purple. One side's almost dry. I'm going to turn the mic off for a little bit and we're going to give him a blow dry just to get that paint drying a bit quicker. Let's see. Okay, so that's the first coat. A nice dark base, which is what I like to start with. We will give another quick coat and then we'll get to shading and highlighting. Haven't even spilt anything yet. How good's that? I have got some ideas for making the glow effect you see on the Tatopee, which might be a little tricky, but we might break out the airbrush for that. Not that I'm a great airbrusher, but I've been watching some YouTube videos and I might be able to do it. I do have an airbrush. It's been a long time since I used it though. Kind of adds a new element to painting, trying to paint in frame on a camera and not make a mess. Things you do. Pretty rough with the base coats. You don't have to be too careful. Excuse me. Probably doesn't help the model shaking around all the time. It's pretty hard to hold him steady and get the paint where you want it and keep him in frame. More water. Well, luckily he's a pretty easy model to paint, to be honest. Well, it is quite detailed. There's no arms or legs or guns or any kind of things you've got to sort of paint around. Probably a good starter model for someone. More paint. So we're trying a new paint for the shading. Usually I use shades, but there's some new paints out they're probably not even new, it's been a while since I went into the shop. Some new paints out called contrast paints. We're going to try that for the shading. Don't know whether it's a good idea or not, but I always like to learn one or two different things when I paint a new model. You don't want to learn every different technique. every time. You want to use a technique you've already learned and maybe learn 1 or 2 new ones. That way it doesn't take you 100 years and you don't mess anything up. A little bit more water. It's better. Probably not the most interesting stream to watch, putting on base coats, but it is a different stream. I guarantee you've never seen anyone paint an alluvial before. I'm just glad the stream's actually working. I live in a rural property in the middle of nowhere in Western Australia, so we need Starlink to get the internet out here. The Australian broadband doesn't work very well out here, so we're on Starlink, but to get the connection to work, basically Starlink router goes to the router in the house, and then you've got a 50-metre cable to a radar dish which shoots the signal down to a back shed, and then you've got another router and another cable and then an old laptop, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I'm pretty much done with the second coat. So that's probably why we had so much hassles with Restream, but YouTube does seem a lot more stable if I just do that by itself. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong, but yeah, it's easier just to get it running on YouTube. All right, let's let them dry off for a bit. Probably needs to be really dry before we start a dry brush. I'm tossing up, I have been tossing up. Do I shade first and then dry brush, or do I dry brush and then shade? But I think we're gonna dry brush first. I just don't know how strong the shade's gonna come out over the top. It might cancel out the dry brush. But we'll try. You can always dry brush again later anyway. All right, let me mute this and we'll blow dry him again. Okay, so that is 2 coats of purple, and he's looking pretty good. So next we're going to use dry brushing, which isn't the most advanced sort of shading technique or highlighting technique, but Wrinkle here is not perfect, so you can see, if I give you a close-up, you can see the sort of the lines on him. That's from the printing process, and it makes it pretty hard to do any kind of proper shading on him. So I think the easiest thing is going to be to just give him a quick dry brush, maybe 2 slightly lighter colours, see how he comes out. Then we can start shading in some recesses and then see how we go from there. Yeah, so we'll start with the dry brush. We're going to use a slightly lighter purple, Xerxes purple, that one there. I did get some new dry brushes just for this because you tend to wear them out very quick. I've never used this brand before. Vallejo dry brush. They look pretty good. Now we don't really water down our paints when we're dry brushing, so we'll just paint straight out of the pot. Oh, I might need some new paper. 1 second. So basically with dry brushing, you get a bunch of paint on your brush, and then you dry off all the wet stuff and you're just left with a bit of pigment. This is quite a dark purple. This might not be light enough for you to see straight away, but as we build up the layers you will see. And then you just slowly get that pot out of the way before I knock it over. Move the brush, it's a bit wet still. Over the model. And you're not picking up any of the deeper cracks, you're only picking up the top of the model, which creates a shading effect or a highlighting effect. This paintbrush isn't very good, it's leaving bristles already. Can be a bit messy too, so you do want to be careful. Yeah, this is not a good dry brush. So this might actually accentuate the little lines that Wrinkle already has. It's going to make them pop out a bit more because it's not going to go in the cracks. But we can only do what we can only work with what we're given. Yeah, this brush is leaving bristles everywhere. I think we can manage it. I wonder if I've got an old brush I can use. There we go. I'll try a different brush. This is annoying me too much. There's a different shaped brush. It's not round, but it hopefully won't drop as many bristles everywhere. Won't be using that brand for dry brush again. Hi Fox Phoenix, welcome to the stream. So it might be a bit hard to, I don't know how clearly it's coming out on YouTube. It'd be a bit hard to see the first layer of dry brushing, but once I start putting a second layer on, you should start to see it. It's just picking up those edges. The good thing about dry brushing is it's pretty simple, it's pretty quick. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit inaccurate. More paint. And you can actually vary how much paint you leave on the model by how hard you press. So there is a little bit of skill involved, or experience. Still finding those bristles everywhere. So if I'm teaching someone how to paint, usually dry brushing is one of the first techniques I'll show them. Just because it's so simple. And you don't want to get too complicated too early. People tend to give up if they don't see results in a reasonable time frame, or if something's too hard. I will take photos in between sessions, and hopefully you'll get to see a bit more detail in the photos. And the good thing about dry brushing is you don't really have to wait for the model to dry, because it pretty much dries instantly. So you can just get straight onto the next layer, which is pretty handy. Okay, that's the first layer of dry brushing. Just clean our brush out. So we're going to use a lighter purple next. Maybe a mix, because this one's pretty damn light. Unless I got an old one somewhere in between. Don't think I do. Let's get a photo of him first. Okay. So we'll just make a little mix that we can dry brush a lighter colour, and you should start seeing this pretty quickly if I mix it the right way. Okay, next colour. All right, here we go. Oh, hey Harbinger, welcome to the stream. Yep, good old Citadel paints, that's what I know. Maybe they're not the best, but that's what I know. Starting to look all right. I don't know how much detail you can see on the stream, but I will give you a close-up once I've done this coat. Yeah, especially on a model like this. It is one of the simpler painting techniques you'll learn, but sometimes simple is good. I think we will do that lighter colour over the top as well. Okay, that'll do. I'll just give you a close-up and we can, I'm not sure how well you can see it on stream, but here we go. So it's quite a messy technique, but it does give you a bit of highlighting, and we'll clean all of that up later. Probably looks funny on my screen too because I've got these giant fluorescent lights shining down on me. All right, this will be a very light layer, so we won't be pressing hard with this, and we'll be getting quite a bit of the paint off the brush before we use it, because otherwise it'll look a bit funny. Yeah, with the lighter the colour you go, and the higher up in the highlighting you get, the more dry you want the brush. You can always put more paint on, but it's very hard to take paint off. And we'll start from the back this time, just in case we haven't got the mix right. Less to fix up. So we're hardly pressing. And it's leaving quite a bit of paint there. Probably about right. Everyone ready for Christmas? Got all your shopping done? Or do you leave it to the very last minute? I'm sure you do, Harbinger. I'm not sure we're even going to need the contrast paints, to be honest. This has built up quite a few layers. Maybe we could put an ink wash into the cracks to really darken up the dark spots. That might be a better idea. See, I rarely paint with a complete plan. I'm a stage by stage painter. Some people have they sit there and they look at a model and they decide every colour they're going to put where and when. I tend to decide on the bigger colours and then paint the most important colours first, or maybe the hardest parts to get to first, and then I reassess and then I dive back in and paint the next bit and then reassess and carry on like that until I'm done. Sometimes that creates a mess, sometimes it works. Bit too much paint on the brush. Problem with the inks is they take quite a while to dry, and if you use the hairdryer on an ink, you tend to move the ink around as you're drying the model, which leaves a funny effect. So I don't think we're going to be able to do this in one session. We're probably going to have to give him an overnight dry after putting the ink on, but we'll do as much as we can without putting the ink on till last. Okay, there we go. Man, the model looks terrible on my screen, but what I'm looking at in front of me looks half decent. So we probably won't go for too much longer. We will start putting, maybe we'll do some, I don't know how it's going to go on this model because of the lines in him. We're going to try and fill up the bigger cracks with a black ink and then leave the model to sit overnight and dry. That might make a little bit of a mess, but we can tidy that up later. Yeah, definitely Harbinger. It will take a bit of the effect off, but I'm not gonna wash the whole thing. I'm gonna just put it in the cracks, some of the bigger cracks, and we can leave him to dry, give him a varnish so we can handle the model without rubbing the paint off. And then the next session we'll tackle the skin part, which is usually pink and like a tan color. So once we've done that, then we can start trying to do the glow effect. But we'll do the black ink. Need a good brush for this one. Probably not that one. Yeah, maybe we will try that one. Yep, and sometimes I suck on my brushes, just so you know. Probably not a good habit, but it does help you keep the point good. I might only show part of this process on stream because the inks are very liquid, obviously, and I'm only going to be able to do one side of the model, or it's going to run straight down. So we might have to do this in stages, but we'll get started and see how it goes. I can always be very sparing with this. You might not even be able to see this on camera. That doesn't look too bad. Yeah, you don't want it too thick because that's when it starts running and it'll run where you don't want it to go. And if you get too much on there, you can wipe it off with your finger. This is a black wash. Nuln oil, it's called. You know what the best part of painting this model is? It's so big I can actually see it. Sometimes when you're painting these really small models as you get older, yeah, the eyes are quite strained. So this is really nice. This is luxury. Especially if you're in bad light, but we've got pretty good lighting here. Yeah, well, it's sticking quite well, Harbinger. It's not running, so it's pretty good. It's hard to control with the layer printing for the model itself, but it's not the end of the world. Looks like we might be able to do the whole model, or the whole shell. Okay, I'm liking the effect. if you do go out of the target area with your inks, you want to wipe it up as soon as possible, or it will leave a mess. Okay, it's looking pretty good. So this isn't a technique you'd have to do. Obviously the easiest thing is to just put the layers on and then dry brush them. But it adds a lot more contrast. So the lighter colours pop more when you've got shadows next to them, or darker bits next to them. So I think it's worth doing. I remember when I first started painting, it'd take me weeks to finish a model like this. Probably because I didn't really know what I was doing. But if you've got a plan, you can get it done pretty quick. Also helps to have multiple projects to work on at once. Like if you're in the painting zone, I call it the painting zone, it's good to have something else to work on while you're waiting for the paint to dry. And that way you're not sitting around doing nothing, staring into space. But the hairdryer helps with that. So, problem with the hairdryer is it does blow the paint around a little bit, especially your more liquid paints. So it's not always useful. And you can always go back over bits if you're not happy with how dark they are. It's better to let them dry a little bit before you go back over. Hi Dennis, welcome to the stream. ILV to the moon, yes, can't wait. I mean, it's been a really long bear market for sure. It's really nice to see pretty much all the bags going up at the moment, and ILV might be a little bit slow going up. The whole of GameFi is really, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. And I look at projects, especially other GameFi projects that are nowhere near as developed as Illuvium, and you see them pump, and you're like, man, if they can do that, what's Illuvium going to do? They've got a great team. They've got a great narrative. They've got really good tokenomics and an actually impressive game. I mean, it might not be, you know, mainstream impressive, but as far as crypto gaming goes, it's light years ahead of most projects. Although there are a lot of other projects catching up, so you know, it's not a license to wait forever. They do need to get their act together, but yeah, it's still one of the most promising things in crypto gaming, if you ask me. And this is just a bit of fun, isn't it? Painting an alluvial. Actually caught a dark hollow Tatopee the other day. I don't think I could paint a dark hollow. That would be a difficult effect to get. Might have to do some research if I want to paint a hollow or a dark hollow. Save that for another day. Well, the connection's certainly holding up all right. That's very promising. I went out of my way on the last attempt to let as much of the Illuvium community as I've got contact with to know about this, and then the technology failed me and it all went pear-shaped. So I kept it a little bit more on the down low this time, just in case it didn't work. But everything seems to be fine. So not great for the old back sitting like this. Something I'd forgotten. So I think once we're done with this ink, we're going to call it for the night. And I'm going to spray him with a satin varnish just to protect the painting we've already done, so I can get started on his underside. So the next stream we do, we'll paint the underside, and that will that'll probably be pretty quick actually. But once we've undercoated or varnished the top, I can handle the model without rubbing the paint off, which is a bit of an issue with larger models like this. Oh, missed the back one. So we're almost done for tonight. It's turning out better than I thought it would. I'll say that. Which is usually what happens with my models. I'm probably my own hardest critic. I think as a painter, you're looking at the model closer than anyone else is, and you sort of see all your own mistakes. And I don't know whether other people have been kind or they just don't see it. Sometimes they can think it's better than you do. But if we did everything perfectly the first time, there'd be no reason to get any better. And I'm always trying to do a better job than I did last time. How's that for some wisdom? You can tell me to shut up if you want. All right, there we go. So we'll let him dry overnight, and tomorrow morning I'll put a satin varnish on him. That will protect the shell while I paint the underside. And I think we'll make this a regular Friday night stream until I finish him. Probably only take 2 or 3 goes. I could do it in one session if we didn't have to wait for drying, but that'd probably take, that'd be a very long stream. But anyway. Here we go, we'll give you a close-up. Move him that way. So I was originally planning on putting an edge highlight on him, and maybe we'll put a spot edge highlight on the shell, just to raise those really bright bits a little bit, but we'll be pretty sparing with that, I think. But we'll leave him for tonight. We'll let him dry and we'll get to that later. Yeah, no worries, Web3. Thanks for stopping in. The Illuvium content's pretty hard to come up with ideas at the moment, so this is something different. Anyway, I'll post some pictures on the X account later, and that'll be it for tonight. So Friday next week we'll do the underside, and then see what's left to do from there. Thanks for joining, everyone.